All right. Hi, Zima.
Hi, how are you?
Good. So just watched your video, and it was with the same student. So tell me
hmm
how did you feel after this session compared to after the first session?
Yeah, it was definitely different. I feel like having him in person, he'll attend to the task more, but it's also challenge being in person is more not just attending to the task, but actually like listening to some of the directions sometimes. Because sometimes he gets excited and he wants to pull forward and kind of rush through. But I just use a couple of visuals to kind of, help him, with whatever it is that he was needing in that moment. But yeah,
Right.
so
Right. So did you feel better, less frustrated, more frustrated? Maybe you didn't feel frustration at all.
yeah. I think it was better. I don't know that I really felt too much frustration. Probably not any really.
Okay.
I'm able to, kind of manipulate the situation a little more, and and like I said, he's a lot more interested with something that's in person and tangible that he can use.
Right.
Um, and what was interesting too is that I do like boom cards too with him, but in person. But it's different than when it was online at home.
Mhm.
He was a lot more attentive with the boom cards when I was sitting next to him.
Yeah, yeah. And what did your research? I mean, you were really focusing on getting him engaged and keeping his attention, correct?
hmm
So
Yes.
did you take any data or did you watch it and did you notice a difference between the first and the second session?
Yeah, for sure. I did take some data. I think if I'm not mistaken, I have to go back and look, but I think he was able to do maybe about 6 minutes for one activity, which was like his best. The activity did take a little longer though, so but he
Yes.
stuck with me throughout the activity. And so that was really nice. I think compared to the first time, I think he was maybe about like 2 minutes here and there, and that was just kind of adding up when he was being attentive, not necessarily like consecutively, but having to like bring him back and, just adding all that time together. So there is definitely a major difference.
Right. And so is the only difference pretty much virtual versus face to face, or did you change some things up this time?
I did change, it changed a little. I used a couple more visuals, I think, or actually used some of the same visuals. But what I think probably makes a really big difference is that I found out that he really likes that Silly Squirrel Dance song, and that is like you didn't get to see it in the video, but he asks for it when I go pick him
Actually,
up.
I
He says
did.
Silly Squirrel Dance. Oh, did you? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he's super excited. The moment that he sees me, because he thinks, okay, work, then Silly Squirrel Dance. So
Okay. So he makes up his own first then.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that was cute. Yeah, that's what I noticed. He really was answering a lot of questions for you.
hmm
And what I saw that was really nice is you, even though you had your visuals, um, and you prompted him, you prompted him by just pointing to the visual. You didn't
hmm
have to say the whole thing and show him the visual. So you're already starting to back away from the prompting. So that
Right.
was really nice to see. Yeah.
Yeah.
I loved how you really gave him choices a lot,
hmm
and it could be just silly things, but he just, you're actually hooking him in because he's making the choice and it empowers him and gives him confidence too. Love to see that. Um, what was it? The one with the colors where he had to say which color in a sentence, he had to request it and then put it on. He was so into that and you could just see his body melting into yours.
Yeah.
He was like grabbing things. And so that would be my only suggestion would be maybe positioning him a little bit so there's some space there, so then it becomes
Yeah.
social interaction that he has to ask you with eye contact maybe, and then
Yeah.
waiting, because he tends to, I just remember him getting him to wait because he gets so into what he's doing,
Mhm.
wants to do it, and he doesn't want to communicate for it. So we have to
Right.
kind of create maybe a little bit more space, just for your own protection.
Yeah.
I mean, he wasn't aggressive at all, but he was just
No.
busy, and maybe that little weight visual too, or just your hand
Mhm.
gesture might, and then that would cue him to look at you, and to make
Yeah.
that social. Then you're not fighting his, hands grabbing
Right.
too.
Mhm.
But loved that. Tell me about your flower pot activity.
Oh, that one. Yeah. He loves, from what I've noticed too, he loves like being able to match things sometimes. And so I went ahead and I picked that activity and I thought he'd really like it. And I think he did really well with it. He didn't understand it at the beginning, but a lot of times I just kind of have to give him that first, kind of model, and then he catches on and then he'll move right along with me. So
Yeah, and that's exactly what I was going to say. After that model, after you gave him the model,
yeah.
he was like looking, scanning, trying to find the one that matched it too. So
Right.
that's awesome. And he was even, answering your questions there, when you were just inserting them in a real natural way or natural format. And
Hmm.
then the boom card activity you said he was a lot more attentive during that as opposed to
Yeah.
virtual, right?
Hmm. Yeah,
So why do
for
you think
sure.
that was? Oh shoot, my battery's going low. I'll just hook up keep talking, but I'm just gonna hook up my cord.
Yeah. No worries. Yeah. So I think I this is maybe just my theory, but I think that, being at home sometimes is harder for kids to want to do work because, they think, school is where I do my work and home is maybe more where I relax, where I do where what I want to do, where it's watch silly squirrel dance or anything else like that, right? So
Yeah.
I think just already having that expectation that, okay, when I see Miss Zima, that means we're going to work and then I can get my reward later. And so I think that definitely does kind of come into play with attending more at school than, versus virtual. um, and then I'm sure, and I'm not to say he doesn't have fun at school, but I'm sure he's having fun at home. And so when mom had to like pull him to do, work, it's kind of like, it's like the kids at the playground. They don't want to come back, but
Right. Right.
back to class. They want to keep staying at the playground. So
Yeah. And I think virtual, you're just not as real, it is
hmm.
more abstract for some of the kids too. So yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. But yeah, the visuals that you had, the different activities that you had, you had some highly motivated. What was he holding? I wanted to ask you that. He was holding something.
Yes, so he brings in stuffed animals to school sometimes. Last time it was a lemur. I think this one was a rabbit. So,
It was kind of gray. So yeah. Oh, that's
yeah.
kind of a rabbit.
So yeah.
So
Hmm.
then does he just brings it with him, or is it like transition
Yeah.
for him? Or okay.
Yeah, I don't think he necessarily needs it for transition, but he does kind of like to have it. And what I've really noticed is that he loves to use it too when the silly squirrel dance kind of, comes
Okay.
on. He loves to like
Uh-huh.
make it shake and dance sometimes. So
Right.
I kind of let him just bring it as long as it's not
Yeah,
distracting, which for the most part it doesn't.
it
He just
wasn't.
likes to hold on to it.
Right. And I think we talked about that, having him, because he was a little wiggly, just sometimes having that something to
Hmm.
deal with, a fidget,
Right.
kind of
Yeah.
keep his attention and keep him regulated.
Hmm.
So that was great. And then, yeah, like I said, to that first activity, it was hands-on pictures and things, but you were able to cue him and he was using those sentences.
Hmm.
And then I love the hands-on that you did with him, like the flower pot activity, and then the modeling that you used. And then the boom card was another virtually, kind of a computer type of, virtual activity, but he was able to manipulate with the mouse and stuff to answer. And then he just, he used the sentences and spontaneously too.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I have seen an increase in spontaneous use of sentences, so that's been
Great.
really nice and really awesome to see. So,
Yeah.
I think that actually adds to what you were asking about earlier. Maybe it's the fact that he can manipulate it too, because
Mhm.
when we were virtual, his computer wasn't set up, or I think he had an iPad, so he wasn't able to like manipulate it himself. I had to do it for him, so that's
Yeah.
probably another piece that kind of made it more interesting for him.
More difficult, yeah, to keep him
Yeah.
engaged too.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, it was interesting too, watching, I think it was towards the beginning, all the kids behind him walking
Mm-hmm.
by and teachers,
Yeah.
and it didn't bother him at all.
Yeah, he wasn't
Turned and
phased.
looked once. So I
Mm-hmm.
thought,
He was
when I was
loving
watching it, I'm
it.
like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
Wonder how this is going to go. But no, he was very engaged. So how
Yeah.
did that make you feel?
That made me feel pretty good because I actually had a couple of more like interruptions during the sessions that I normally have. And
Okay.
I thought that he did really well with just the small bits where I was like, oh, okay, yeah, yeah, so and so is over here, and um so I thought he did really good, and that did make me feel good that he was engaged. That tells me he does look forward to the activities that I have, even if it is work. He does look forward to them, and so just want to keep picking activities that'll motivate him to work.
Yeah. Yeah. So do you ever work in the classroom with him or no?
No, not necessarily. Most of the time, I kind of pull him out into the hallway. Um, so yeah, yeah, I don't really push in too much.
What about, is there anybody else that you could pull out with him? I'm just thinking a little peer.
Um, I could potentially see there is I do have a couple of other students in that class, but typically they're absent quite a bit. So
Okay.
it's hard to get him to be in a group when other peers are absent. There is another student that I do see there, but I typically see her alone because she has a lot of more like specified things. So
Right. I'm just thinking, just a way of maybe introducing him to a more social, especially playing some of the
hmm
games or activities that he likes. Boy, if he had to wait his turn,
yeah,
because he's kind of grabby, that would
yeah,
be a social situation where he would have to wait. So it might be good
yeah.
practice. And if they're absent, and it wouldn't, maybe it's at the end of his session. It doesn't
hmm
even be the whole thing, but just to kind of give him little bits of, you know, working with more than just you,
Yeah, right.
with some other kids, and then
hmm
seeing kind of how the language is
How he
going to
does.
come. Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely take that into account. Try it out.
Hmm. Just an idea. Yeah. Just,
hmm
um, so how'd you feel about just this whole process? Did you like it? Did you not? Um, would you like to see more of this next year, or would you rather go to maybe a book study, or something similar to what we did last year?
Yeah, I actually really did enjoy this process. It's really nice, being able to have someone else to kind of bounce things off of and it be like specific to what you're doing to a child you're seeing, so I really did like that. I know back then we would kind of do that big group thing, and then they'd ask those questions and we would bounce it back and forth, and that was all good. It was really good information. It was really good general information, but I really like how this process has made it really specific. So it's like, hey, I'm struggling a little bit with this, and just having that time to process, to plan it out, and to be able to just kind of collaborate with someone else and see what they think, because sometimes you got to get outside of the box, and sometimes outside of the box means going to other people so that they
Yeah.
can either recommend things that they've done before, or see things that you don't even necessarily see yourself. So it's really nice.
Right, right. And I think for you guys, it's really brave to kind of put yourself out there,
Mm-hmm.
be, judged, or just to have someone
Yeah.
else look at you. But I feel like you're really receptive to hearing some different things. And that's, being able to take constructive criticism is is a skill too, where you need to not take that personally and
Yeah.
use it to, perfect your craft.
Mm-hmm.
So,
For sure.
yeah, I feel growth with you. I see a lot of growth with you. Just personality wise too, you're so much more open and expressive, and once you're comfortable, and you've told me this on day one, I'm quiet
Yeah.
at first, but until you get to know me and you feel comfortable.
For
So
sure.
I'm sure that is going to get easier and easier for you too.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I feel like I've actually seen growth in that too, just like, at work. And so that's been really nice because, it's not that I want to be quiet. It just takes me like time to warm up, but
Sure, sure. I'm sure you're guarded at first, and then
yeah.
then you're willing to put yourself out there, and that's what I've seen a lot.
Hmm.
So good job.
Thank you. And I appreciate everything that you've done too, and your
Yeah.
recommendations. They were truly good, and they helped me out. So I appreciate it.
Well, good. Well, good. Do you have any other questions for me?
Nope, not at the moment.
Okay. Um, I know I have to write up something, and I'm not sure that you have to also, but I'll find out for you and let you know. Okay.
Sounds great.